Thomas Sandusky.
Say the Hugh Freeze incident at Ole Miss.
Brian Harston cheating on his wife because they're rich.
They got money.
Hey everyone, I'm Lily Barosi.
And I'm Claire Sashery.
And today we're going to be talking about should high-profile figures in the sports realm get second chances due to their image and likeness. Now, this depends on a variety of factors. For me, I think that coaches should not be able to just sweep things under the rug and get away with things because the university has such high powers.
Right.
It's just not right.
No, definitely not. And there's a trend within college football especially where if coaches are winning games, anything that they're accused of is swept under the rug and not considered at all about, I don't know. The first one we're going to talk about, Coach O, being from Louisiana.
Right.
He's someone that we talk about a lot. He's LSU, or he was LSU's head football coach. Big name, won a national championship, all that stuff. So according to an article in The Advocate, which is a local Louisiana newspaper, he was named as a defendant in a sex discrimination lawsuit and accused of brushing off a report that their star player at the time, Darius Geis, raped a recruit's girlfriend. And Darius actually had 3 other allegations as well of sexual misconduct, including sharing illegal nude photos, rape, and sexual harassment. And there's actually a quote from Coach O that the recruit, when he approached Coach O and told him the situation, Coach O looked at him and said, "Hey man, your girlfriend's gonna sleep with other guys, you just gotta get over it."
Ugh, that's disgusting.
Insane. So eventually, Coach O was fired, and LSU made it a point to go out of their way to say that these accusations have nothing to do with why he was fired. It was just because he was losing games. So they actually made that a point. It was insane to hear. And then in the past, LSU has also had issues with coaches. So Les Miles, he had sexual assault allegations with students, and he was actually court-ordered to stay away from female students, but was never fired. So he literally had a court order.
So how does that happen?
Right, and he works at a college, so I don't even know how that would work. But obviously all of these allegations sparked Title IX conversations, and their president at the time, F. King Alexander, said that because of budget cuts, they couldn't afford to implement a Title IX office. However, when Coach O left, not because of the allegations, because of him not winning football games, as they made very clear, they paid him the rest of his contract, so $17 million. But they didn't have enough money to implement a Title IX office.
So he got out of there free with some pay, some extra pay.
Insane.
But another SEC coach, Hugh Freeze, actually replaced Houston Nutt in 2011, who already had some allegations under his belt. And in January of 2016, the football program was cited by the NCAA violating 13 of the 28 rules, 9 of which violations occurred during Freeze's tenure. So just off of that should be enough to fire him.
Yeah.
9 alone is enough. But then, in July of 2017, it came out that Freeze made at least 12 phone calls to different escort services on a university phone. So that month, he resigned from Ole Miss, but then later decided to coach at Liberty for the next 4 years. You would think that's enough. But going back to where he started in high school at Briarwood Christian, which is a private school in Memphis, Tennessee, so lots of money, lots of names there. Anyways, so after he resigned from Ole Miss, students from this high school came out, one of those being Katie Dalmaso. She told a story to USA Today of wearing a Grateful Dead t-shirt, which violated dress code, and Freeze made her remove the shirt in his presence.
Ugh, gross.
Disgusting. You would think that they would have to have a female teacher go in and implement those rules, not him.
Right.
So he went from allegations at a Christian high school with minors to then coaching at a top college program to then being forced to resign and getting a 3rd chance at Liberty.
Insane.
When is it going to end?
The chances, they just keep coming. But speaking of that as well, taking a little bit of a different turn, Lane Kiffin, so he's the current Ole Miss head football coach. While he was coaching at USC, according to a Bleacher Report article, he had NCAA violations for underinflating balls and switching jerseys to confuse players. And then at Tennessee, so prior to this, according to A to Z Sports, he had 12 secondary violations for NCAA rules, things like that. These included impermissible phone calls to recruits, visiting a high school with a recruiting intern that wasn't allowed to be there, and his famous hostess program where members of their Orange Pride program would illegally visit recruits and recruit them for him. So obviously, he was at Tennessee. He left Tennessee, became the head football coach at USC, which he quoted as his dream job, so an upgrade there. And then he became the offensive coordinator here at Alabama, which I would say is an upgrade.
Definitely.
And then he became head coach at Ole Miss, where he still is. So despite all of these violations, obviously not playing fair game, which I feel like football is rooted in, he still continues to coach and to move up and get positions.
And guess what he's doing now? He's winning at Ole Miss, so all of this is going to be swept under the rug again, and he's just going to have another successful career.
Yeah.
But moving on from that, Art Briles, who we actually talked about in class a lot, he was the head coach at Baylor for 8 seasons, but eventually was fired because he failed to take appropriate action to respond to reports of sexual assault and other violence committed by his very own football players. According to ESPN, on April 15th, 2012, a football player named Tevin Elliott rapes a female Baylor student outside of an off-campus party in Waco, Texas. The student reports the assault to police and a sexual assault nurse later that morning. Another former Baylor student alleges being gang raped by 10 to 15 other football players at that same party.
Wow.
He was later suspended for unspecified violations.
Right.
And then eventually arrested. But Baylor's administrators actively discouraged these complaints from being reported. Briles, the president, Mr. Starr, and the team chaplain were aware of these allegations by the players, but didn't take any action or any discipline. So they didn't find Briles guilty of any of these infractions. So his attorney said he was clear to return to coach these games. And then the school president, Ken Starr, was removed as president, but then transitioned into the role of a chancellor. So he's still at the school. And he remains a professor at Baylor Law. And then the athletic director, Ian McGraw, was sanctioned and placed on probation. So the school failed to properly follow Title IX legislation and investigate allegations on sexual assault. And then on top of that, these leaders at the university were downgraded just a little bit, but they're still allowed to teach there.
Right. It's insane. And these cases are only ones that we've researched. So just while looking into these, other names have popped up. There's Jimbo Fisher, James Franklin, Urban Meyer, and the list goes on and on and on.